Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Leadership in Politics with Dr. Abraham. On the show with me is Mr. Joe Yazbek, a keynote speaker, best-selling author, a leadership consultant. Mr. Joe Yazbek, how are you?
Hello, Abe. Good to see you and great to be on your show.
You are welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us and share your insights with my audience. What I'd like to do and talk with you today is about communication in general. And after that, we can talk about public speaking. You also wrote the book on public speaking. Before we go any further, tell me and tell our audience about yourself. Who is Joe Yazbek?
I have been training executives and business leaders for over 30 years. And I started out with a system early on in my life as a performing artist myself. I have a degree in theater.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a lot of stage work and developed a lot of talent, directed, and a lot of those skills lend very well to training executives so that they can comfortably, dynamically, confidently stand before an audience or on camera without stage fright and be able to deliver their messages, deliver their vision, in front of an audience so that they can truly be the leaders that they need to be effectively. And so I learned this and I dedicated the last 2 decades of my life to leadership, where the first decade was attributed to performing arts and developing talent. It was a great transition because I felt that, there are many, many people in business that really need these skills. They need to learn how to handle an audience, how to run a meeting, how to walk into a boardroom and heads turn. They have to learn how to prepare and organize the presentation and have that confidence. And so by the end of it, they've got people that are willing to commit to their product, their service, their ideas, all of those things. So it really, truly is a connection between speaking and leadership.
Then you went further to Prestige Leadership Advisors. Tell me about
Yes, I founded that company.
Okay.
Well, we have a company where we train business leaders, executives, community leaders. We've worked and continue to work with public servants. I've worked with heads of state, top people in technology, healthcare, law, finance, and we train them on professional communication skills, public speaking, being on radio, podcasts. Nowadays, because it's so virtual, Abe, as you know, not going anywhere publicly. So you better learn how to capture an audience on a webinar or a podcast. So we've added a very strong curriculum to our menu of services, and that is how do you command with confidence on a webinar or a podcast? Very important part.
These are programs through your leadership advisors.
That's correct.
Programs, okay.
Yeah.
You're also a best-selling author.
I am.
Tell me about the book.
Yeah. I released a book. My company is basically the publisher, but I have
No Fear Speaking.
No Fear Speaking is the title of that. Yeah.
Let me share that with our audience. It's on the. Do you see it on the screen?
There it is.
Okay, so tell me about it. What is it? What's the premise?
That book went bestseller within a few months.
So okay.
And by the way, if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see that the foreword there, Dan Clark. Dan Clark is an internationally recognized speaker, a New York Times bestseller. He was also one of the very first people that were not NASA that was a public person, basically cannoned into space. Okay.
When did you publish this book?
Former professional football player. Love the book.
When did you publish it?
I published it in 2014, the first edition. It's gone through a few editions, and now, actually, I'm very proud of the fact that I now have it in 8 languages. Okay, I have it in Chinese, Mandarin, I have it in Russian, German, Hungarian, Czech, Slovakian, and Spanish, in addition to delivered in places like Ukraine, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Budapest, Frankfurt, Germany, Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Pretoria, South Africa. I had some fantastic experiences teaching people the freedom of expression. Abe, how do you like that?
That's amazing and powerful, Joe. So your book actually allows people or share with people The Secret of Public Speaking. Is that right? Is that what you actually, the premise of your book, the reason you
Yeah, the
published
secret
it?
to public speaking is looking outward and putting your attention on people, much like a conversation.
Okay.
Because many people end up memorizing their presentations and they disconnect from the audience.
This is not something you recommend. So tell me, it says secrets to inspire and influence any audience.
That's correct.
Go ahead and talk about some of these secrets. If it's
Well,
okay with you.
number one, you've got three different aspects that I cover in the book. One is, how do you prepare and organize an outline or a design of a presentation? What I give people in this book is a universal template to structure any outline for any audience, no matter the size or the purpose of that presentation. Okay. And this is the biggest problem. And that's part one of the book, which gives the tools necessary to construct an outline. Part two of the book is about speaker magnetism. How do you own the room? How do you garner this kind of stage presence that inspires people? You see? Body language, vocal quality. How do you tell a great story? How do you evoke emotion and invoke emotion from your audience? Many different facets of it. And then the last part of the book talks about, and I really detail out, how do you motivate and inspire an audience to take action? This is what leaders are supposed to be doing. Yes. This is why I would really call this book a book about leadership communications.
This is very powerful. And that's why it's been doing well, actually very good. In addition to the bestseller, it's also in different languages. You don't see too many books like that.
So I have it in a system now because I have an online video course with it, and it comes with a quick reference guide. And so many of executives and decision makers and owners of companies and entrepreneurs particularly will really like the friendly, accessible way that this material is laid out. It's not enough just to get through a presentation today, because what is leadership, Abe? You know this. I know you know this because you're involved in this. Yes. And you are an influencer big time in this area. You've got to inspire others to take action. And this is what leaders are supposed to do.
That's a great insight, Joe. What is communication? Let's talk about communication. Define it for me.
Well, communication is an interchange of ideas between one or more people, whether it's one-on-one or a group. And it involves being able to get your message across with clarity, have the intent that the meaning of that message is understood, see, and that you are able to observe how your communication is being responded to so that you may need to clarify. And I think another thing is you've got to be a very, very good listener. You've got to be willing. Communication must not be so robotic and mechanical. You've got to be willing to listen, to understand, so that you can help someone really understand.
What happens if the leader listens? If they do active listening, what happens if they do listen? What transcribes them?
Oh, they learn a lot.
Tell me. Tell our audience.
They learn, and what they learn translates into what the biggest quality is for me. What I think the most important quality a leader should have is understanding. If they don't understand their team, if they don't understand the woof and wharf, as I say, of the environment, of what they're leading and who they're leading, they're not leading anyone. They need to understand the playing field as well.
So you said understanding. So you think empathy goes together with communication?
Crucial.
Crucial. Okay.
Crucial. Empathy is an interesting, it's not sympathy. Empathy is quite different. It's caring enough, and I say this and illustrate this in my book on the 5 C's of a commanding speaker, which happened to be a commanding speaker is one who is a leadership communicator. Okay. Caring is number 1. If you don't care, and if you don't show you care about what others care about, there's a disconnection.
Yes.
See?
And they feel it, right? They feel it.
Yeah.
They feel it. Okay.
Yeah, but you have to also be an example of leadership, that you're getting them through something. You're coaching them. You're not a boss. You're not dominating them with orders. You're not making leaders
Mm-hmm.
Leadership's role is to make leaders, not followers.
Which we go to the inspiration, where you inspire them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to feel that they don't want to disappoint you because they love you.
Yes.
You see, a team's loyalty isn't because they're afraid of getting their job handed to them with a pink slip out the door. All right. It's because they have so much respect
And
and so
commitment.
much affinity
Mm-hmm.
for who they're working with.
Yeah.
They don't want to disappoint that person. That's what's important about leadership. And those are cultures worth working for. You don't have a lot of those in working in organizations as there should be.
So if you master communication to the level you're describing, you can easily connect with any leader. You can even manage or micromanage
Yes.
your
Isn't that
leader.
interesting? Which is what our
It's very
nations should
powerful.
be doing. Our nations aren't connecting with each other's leaders. Think about this. If there was communication
What's the
between
disconnect?
countries,
What is the disconnect here?
the disconnect is fear breeds hatred.
Okay.
And when you have a lack of communication, you see, you're going to have fear there because you're putting something negative in a vacuum that where it should be filled with communication, filling that vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And then that fear turns into hatred. What do you know? You have war or you have conflict. And it's my belief, call it my belief or my axiom, my principal truth that you will never have war if you have two countries in communication with each other.
If
So
they
if we're-
understand,
this
if
is
the
why-
leaders understand each other, and if they have empathy toward each other, so empathy will be probably possibly the disconnect, which lead to fear.
I think so. I think empathy is one thing.
Yeah.
I also think that communicating with the idea of making them feel important. Okay. I went to
yes.
Russia. I went to Russia twice. But the very first thing that I knew about Russia, and I did my homework with every country I went to, because it was important for me to connect, because I could communicate all of these ideas, Abe, but if I'm not connecting to people who I did my research on, for example, Russia has this idea of Americans, they think they know it all, kind of like
Americans. Mhm.
Americans, okay? I'm an American. I'm coming from the United States. I'm here to train, and I trained in some very interesting places. I trained in Skolkovo. I trained all of the city officials in what is known as the Silicon Valley of Russia,
Okay.
okay? And that place was 10 times the size of the Silicon Valley. But the first thing I knew I had to say to every single one of them, I am so privileged and honored to be here. I have so much to learn from you. And you know what? I could feel the tenseness decreasing. It opened up, and it was the most incredible experience with that group.
I am sure you knew what you were doing then, but the insight we get at this point is to other leaders out there.
Sure.
The reason Joe did what he did, or he said what he said, is he is connecting with his audience. And the way he connected is by giving them respect, by saying, I know I don't know it all. I know the perception you have of me as an American. I am different. I am like you. The minute you say I'm like you, you're connected. Is that right?
Yes, you have to find mutual realities. You have to bring up and grant them important statesmen that did this. Churchill did this. Kennedy did this. They were masters at understanding who they were talking to.
Is when you say it, you don't say it in a way you don't mean. You actually mean what you say. When
Yeah,
you say,
that's
I'm
the
learning,
sincerity. That's the
yes.
sincerity part
When
of
you say
it.
I'm learning from you or hoping to learn from you, because you understand your limitation to an enlightened human being that you know others also may have some knowledge they will share with you.
Yeah, there are many people in public service and in business that are leaders in those industries that think that being vulnerable is weak. You see, and it makes them disconnect from people, because people, I tell you, manners is missing in a lot of ways. And leadership needs to know what protocol is. And I have learned after traveling so many countries that I know that when you can bring cultures together and get them to learn how to communicate, I'm on the verge of doing a project in Washington, D.C. with embassies.
Okay.
What we're planning on doing is making cultures connect through communication so that they are able to understand each other's differences.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
And that's
I'm
the power
actually,
of communication. That's the power of communication.
it's the power of communication and the power of caring enough to understand the other and to bring it to the middle. You see, it's more important as a leader to understand rather than be understood.
Okay, I understand. Okay, I like it. First, okay, so we had caring. What's the other four? The 5 C's. Caring, then
Comfortable.
just a little line or two. What is it?
You got to be comfortable in your own skin. You got to be at ease. If you're not at ease, you're not putting your audience at ease. They're going to know. If you're not comfortable, they're not going to trust you. The others are confident.
Confident, sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, knowing that you know, and not having to prove that you know.
Pretend. Yeah.
Don't pretend, because otherwise it becomes overly aggressive and not confident. Yeah, credibility is another. You've got to prove the points you're making. You've got to back up the points with support sources. You see, you also have to be an example of what you're teaching. That's right.
Practice what you teach. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Don't just.
And the last is
yeah.
charismatic. And people get a little overwhelmed by that. And I say you don't have to be a political or religious leader to be charismatic, because charisma
is something you build. Charisma is definitely plays a part in leadership trait and personality in the way people respond to you as a leader. But is it something you can build? Charisma? How do you build charisma?
If you look at being like I've designed a dichotomy of in my book called the authentic versus the synthetic speaker. Charismatic speaker has the authentic side. They're not introverted, they're extroverted. Okay. They're not trying to impress you, they're expressing. They're not trying to be interesting, they're interested. Yes. They're not restrained, okay? They're open, they're effortless. They're not artificial, they're natural. They're always looking outward, not inward.
Okay. So something comes to mind. I like it. So we talk about an introvert and extrovert, and we have leaders who are introverts. So when they hear what you said, which is fine. So how do you put them? How do you train them to become the leader you want them to become?
That's a great question, and I will tell them that you are not born introverted. I've never seen, Abe, have you seen an introverted baby? I've never seen it. Okay. People learn to be introverted.
So the environment in the peer group, in your family can do something to your personality.
Yes, it can help. It can make you restrain. It can make you look inward. And what I do with my clients, and I mean it, this is quite miraculous, and I'm not putting a feather in my cap, but this is what I love about coaching. I get them to extrovert and express themselves to a point where they're not looking inward anymore. They get to look around them. And you know what happens when you're looking out? You're including them in your space.
So you make the introvert curious so they become extrovert.
I make them interested, and I get them to look in their environment, and I get them to look at their audience. And then, of course, the first thing I do is I make sure that they have the structure of a presentation where they don't have to memorize. I don't believe in memorization.
How do you do that? How do you do that, just quickly?
Well, they have to read the chapter.
I know. But this little insight you're sharing with our audience, something to give them so they can look at the book and get the book. Because I'm recommending the book here, publicly.
Oh, thank you.
The book because it is a good book, and I read it, and I know how important it is.
Well, the first thing I do is I do exercises in looking. It's powerful. Being able to look, perceive what you see, and know what you're perceiving. It actually extends your attention outwards. You see, when you're standing up in front of an audience, like we're sitting down in a webinar right now, but my attention is extended way out. I'm not introverted into myself, into my head. Because if I'm in here, I am not out here, which doesn't include my audience. I become limiting the scope. It's all about space. So it's conquering space. It's all about space. Yes.
So
Yes.
when you're presenting, you think of yourself and what's happening, you're limiting your scope to see the audience and you see what you're delivering.
Yes. And you can always make a change because you're looking at the audience and you know that you're responding to the audience. And there's nothing more exciting than an interactive audience that you're sharing conversations with, and the whole room lights up. That's how you command a room. And that's charisma.
That's charisma. This is how you create, you build
That's
charisma.
exactly.
I love this. Let's talk about stage fright.
Sure.
Is the introvert leans more toward becoming has the stage fright, or it's everybody has stage fright? What's the
No,
stage
I
fright
don't
first?
think everyone has it.
What's stage fright first? Let's go ahead and define stage fright and who would have stage fright.
People who have stage fright have resistance to people in front of them. They're not willing to experience a number of people in front of them. Now, people who are looking inwards are not able to experience people in front of them because they're not looking at them.
Mm.
Now, I'll give you an example. I did some training in Hollywood, okay? When I was in Hollywood many, many years ago, if you remember the Cinerama Theater on Sunset Boulevard, is it still there?
I live close by.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I was training performing artists in LA, and I would take the most difficult people with stage fright. These were actors and singers, etc., like 5 of the worst. And I get permission from the box office to walk in between the movies. And I'd have them stand with their backs to the screen, looking at people walking in. And I said, don't say anything. Don't do anything. Just be there. Look. And you could see like drops of sweat from their fingertips, their twitches. They were swaying around. I mean, they were like, and within 10 or 15 minutes, and I said, don't do anything. Just continue to be there and look at people coming in. And they noticeably got better. They looked more relaxed. It's an exercise. And this is one of the most powerful exercises that I use with my clients to get them over stage fright. They have to go somewhere where there's lots of people and just stand there and look.
So practice makes perfect?
That's right. It's repetition, just like choreographers. Let's see that again. Let's see that again. Or it could be a football player. Let's see that play again. It's repetition, repetition, building that practice that makes it second nature, natural, and don't even have to think about it.
I agree with you. There are speakers, and you're one of them. Regardless of the audience or any audience, regardless of the status of the individual within the audience, there is no stage fright. But sometimes, probably I'm included, doesn't matter how many classes I do, doesn't matter how many audiences I speak in front of. Sometimes, if you have a new audience, whether they're 15 or 500, this stage fright comes to you, it creeps on. How do you overcome it, eliminate it, just get rid of it?
Okay. I'm going to tell you that to walk out to an audience, you want to have control of your body. You want to have control of your thoughts before you open your mouth.
This is where the third one, the confidence comes in.
And that's correct. You want to be connected. These are key elements. You want to be so connected to your message. You want to know your message so well. And you want to admire your audience. Look out, admire them.
So find something to admire.
Find something to admire in your audience.
And let them know about it.
And you feel free to express what you're admiring. See? Because if you're connected to your audience and you're connected to your own message, my goodness, are you going to connect your message to your audience? You see? And that's the key. And I say, just be there and look at them. Admire them before you open your mouth. Okay? You don't have to rattle off things. Just like, take a nice breath. Hello. Wow. Look at you guys. Man, you guys look very, very cool today. You guys ready for a seminar? Yeah? All right. It's like you're having fun. You're not serious. You're not there. Thank you for coming today. I promise I won't take up too much of your time. I hope this is going to be fun today. It's a lot of information. Okay. They came
We lost
Yeah,
them right there. Then.
you lost them right there. They came to hear you. And you know what? You know what it's like to have a great conversation one-on-one to somebody?
Mm.
It's like talking to your best friend. You're having a cup of coffee in the fireplace.
Yeah.
That's what it should be like. You're that relaxed. What's everybody
So
doing today?
preparation
Like,
is a must. Preparation is a
yeah,
must.
admiration.
You
A
know,
beautiful thing.
you know exactly what you're talking about. So, and then commend the room by being confident, but also compliment them, compliment your
Yes,
audience.
yes. And never make them wrong for a bad answer, ever,
There's no,
ever. And never, unless somebody is distracting the audience, you have the right to remove them for the sake of the other audience if they're
for the
being
sake of everybody else.
right. But you're always looking at everyone. You're never looking away, and you want to take questions in order. Maybe because people resent if they raise their hand and you picked somebody else who raised their hand after they did. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So there's certain rules, the house rules of speaking you want to know. It's very important.
That's in your programs, and that's also in the book.
A lot of this is in the book, but a lot of the teaching and the coaching is in the exercises. You bet.
So that's what will really make them get the experience through theory and with time through practice. So you guide them through it. I like that.
Yeah, we also offer free complimentary critiquing. If somebody wants to call in and say, "Do you mind? Can I get an idea of how the speech will come off? I put it together. I want your idea of it." I don't mind that.
Is that somebody within the program, or anyone can call into this?
I think anybody should call. If anybody, we want to help people.
Because you're offering this anyway.
We're offering it. Yeah, it's
how do they do this? So let's give them something. Whoever listening to this, you're talking to the master communicator in here, Mr. Joe Yazbek. I'm saying this because I've been witnessing him. I know you for a long time, Joe, several years now. I know what you deliver. And before I tell you about, we talk about Jeremy Ryan. You have a new, is it a podcast? What do you?
Jeremy and I formed our own podcast called Leadership Unleashed.
And then you have it every Saturday?
We have it now on Wednesday morning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Okay, and that's Facebook, or what is it?
It's both LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live.
Okay, yeah. Wonderful. So if somebody wants to learn more about you and what you're offering, where do they go to?
They can go to our website, both websites, at nofearspeaking.com or prestigeleader.com, and just send me a message on the contact form. Go to the contact page and send me a message. That's how they can get a hold of us. They can order the books, all of our materials in any of those languages on nofearspeaking.com. All of them, yes. Everything is available on Amazon. And the audio book is a big popular one. That's also available on Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Yeah.
Joe, thank you for sharing your insights with our audience, with me as well, and for doing what you do. Please continue doing what you do.
Well, Abe, I'm very impressed with everything you're doing. You're quite a great example of leadership and what you are showing by example of how you lead as well. So thank you for the time and your very smart questions today.
You're most welcome. The last question is to the leadership out there. Today's leadership. What do you advise someone listening to you in a position of leadership?
Disregard anything other than what you know you should do. Don't listen to political pundits. Don't listen to the media. I mean, don't listen to your own people. You see, I think that we've gotten way out of what a statesman should be. You see, there's a difference between a politician and a statesman. Okay, and I think that what we really need in leadership is sanity, high degree of ethics, the competency to lead, and the inspiration to make their leadership compelling to others to want to do the same.
I do
Thank you.
thank you for your time, and thank you for whatever you do. And continue.
Thank you
doing
so
it.
much. I appreciate it. We had a nice conversation today. Thank you. Let's
Yes,
have
we did.
more. Okay.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant one. God
My
bless.
pleasure.